Okay, let's unpack something that I think we all intuitively feel, but we rarely actually articulate.
Right.
You're scrolling through your feed, right? And the algorithm is just, it's feeding you vitality.
Oh, absolutely. It's feeding you energy.
Yeah, you see travel vlogs, people jumping off cliffs in some tropical paradise, extreme sports.
Just these high-octane moments.
Exactly, moments that just scream, being alive.
It's the best life aesthetic.
Yeah.
That's what we click on. That's what we crave as consumers.
Right, and we consume it because we want a piece of that feeling.
Yeah.
But in preparing for this deep dive, I realized we are looking at a massive case of survivor bias.
Oh, totally. That is such a good way to frame it.
Because we see the millions of clips where the stunt works, right? Where the joke lands, the parachute opens, and the creator just walks away laughing.
Yeah, they get the shot and go home.
But we almost never talk about the footage that ends well, that ends abruptly.
And that is exactly what makes the sources we are covering today so heavy, but also, I think, incredibly necessary to analyze.
Yeah.
We are looking at what I call the digital legacy paradox. We use cameras to immortalize ourselves, to freeze time and, capture a memory.
Right, to live forever online.
Exactly. But for a specific subset of creators, the camera didn't just capture their lives, it was an active participant in ending them.
Yeah, and so we're doing a deep dive today into the stories of 6 specific creators who lost their lives while the camera was rolling.
It's a heavy topic.
It is. And I want to set the ground rules right now for you listening. We aren't doing this for shock value. This isn't about gawking at tragedy.
No, absolutely not. That's not the goal here.
The mission is to understand the psychology behind these events. We need to look at the risk versus reward calculation that happens in a creator's brain.
Right. Why push the limits that far?
Exactly. Why do people do it? And why does holding a camera make us feel safer than we actually are?
That is the core question. There is a psychological concept that comes up repeatedly in the research, and it's called the invincibility of the lens.
The invincibility of the lens. Okay, unpack that.
Yeah. It's basically a form of dissociation. When you view the world through a viewfinder or, a phone screen, your brain processes the environment differently.
It filters it.
Yeah, it feels like a movie set.
So you feel like the director rather than the actor.
Precisely. You feel separated from the action. You are the observer. And when you are the observer, you subconsciously feel like the physical laws of the universe just don't apply to you in the same way.
Whoa.
The camera acts as a psychological shield. It distances you from the visceral reality of danger because you're so focused on framing, on lighting, on the audience.
And that suppresses your primal survival instincts.
It completely overrides them.
That is terrifying. It's like wearing blinders made of technology.
That's a great way to put it.
So, to make sense of this, we've categorized today's case studies by the environments that claimed them. The sources break this down into 3 specific categories. We have the water, the rails, and the heights.
3 environments that are notoriously unforgiving if you are distracted, even for a split second.
Right. So let's jump right into the deep end, the water, and specifically the deceptive power of currents.
Yeah, water is relentless.
We have to start with a story that really highlights that invincibility factor you just mentioned. Let's talk about Jacob Cockle.
This is a classic example of what psychologists might call escalation theory in content creation.
Right. So Jacob was a creator from Cornwall, England. He ran a channel called Whirlpool Hitman.
Which, the name alone tells you exactly what you're in for.
Yeah, he was a daredevil. He did cliff jumping, cave exploration, extreme surfing. He was actually getting featured in surfing magazines, even recognized by National Geographic.
He was legitimately skilled.
Highly skilled. But his specific niche, his main thing, was swimming in whirlpools.
And we aren't just talking about little swirls in a river here.
No, not at all.
He filmed at the Hayle Estuary once or twice a year. The tidal flow there creates these massive industrial-grade vortexes.
Just huge amounts of moving water.
Powerful enough to suck down logs, debris, anything. Jacob would throw objects into them to watch them disappear, and usually he would jump in himself.
The footage is intense. He's letting the current drag him around, spinning him like a top. But here is where it gets really interesting and deeply tragic.
Yeah?
On May 28, 2013, the whirlpool surfaces. Jacob grabs his equipment, but he also grabs a prop. He decides to wear a horse mask.
A rubber horse mask.
Yes, because, the internet, right, to make the video more eye-catching.
Right.
So you have this incredibly dangerous natural phenomenon, and he's approaching it with this layer of internet absurdity. He's there with his friend, an artist named David Rain, who is filming him.
And this brings up the concept of audience capture.
Yeah.
The audience demands novelty.
It's never enough.
Exactly. Just swimming isn't enough anymore. Now it has to be funny. It has to be a meme.
Wow, yeah.
So you have a man entering a lethal hydrodynamic environment, but his headspace is entirely focused on the comedy of wearing a mask.
And the dialogue, I actually have the transcript of that moment here from the source material. It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
They had been filming for about 25 minutes. Jacob is swirling around the edge of the vortex, and David, the friend, actually tries to call it off. David says, I reckon you got enough.
See, he's the outside observer. He doesn't have the camera shield in the same way. He sees the danger rising.
Right. But Jacob is in that flow state of creation. He replies, I really make the most of it. I don't know what else to do.
I don't know what else to do. That is such a heavy statement on the pressure to create.
The content treadmill.
The treadmill demands more. So instead of getting out, Jacob asks for his stick-mounted GoPro. He wants one last underwater shot, a POV of the vortex.
He dives down, and that's the final frame. He never comes back up.
Yeah.
David waits, yells his name, and then runs to the other end of the quay where the water flows out, and that's where he found him face down.
By the time David found him, it was just too late. Jacob was a strong swimmer, but the whirlpool pinned him underwater.
He just couldn't fight it.
He underestimated the physics because he was over-focused on getting the shot.
There is a coda to this story that feels almost scripted. When his last video was finally uploaded in 2014, posthumously, it had a caption he had written previously.
I remember this.
It read, live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever.
A philosophical quote that became a literal prophecy. He was only 28 years old.
Now, staying with the water, but moving to a completely different climate, we have Tor Eckhoff, better known to the internet as Apetor.
Apetor is a fascinating case study because he completely defies the demographic of your typical YouTuber.
Totally. He wasn't some 20-something in Los Angeles.
No, he was a 57-year-old factory worker in Norway.
And his content was very unique. If you haven't seen it, it's hard to describe. It was surreal. He had over 1.3 million subscribers.
A huge following.
He would drink vodka, like real vodka, skate on thin ice in his underwear, roll around in the snow. Sometimes he'd drink engine oil just for a laugh.
He had this quirky, humorous style. He wasn't an adrenaline junkie in the traditional extreme sports sense. He was more like a surrealist performance artist who just used the Norwegian winter as his canvas.
Right. But he played with the concept of death constantly. His running gag was posting a video every birthday titled, I am not dead, I'm 57 today.
He was teasing the Reaper for clicks. It was just part of the brand.
But the danger was real. On November 27, 2021, he was filming near Kongsberg, Norway. He was on a frozen lake. And the irony here is just gut-wrenching. Just days before, he had posted his I am not dead video.
Right.
He texted his roommate beforehand saying everything was okay, and he was looking forward to getting good footage. He starts skating, and he falls through.
Now, this is where the invincibility of the lens falls apart against biology. Tor had done this 100 times.
It was his whole thing.
Exactly. This is called risk homeostasis. When we do something dangerous repeatedly without getting hurt, we slowly lower our estimation of the risk. We think, oh, I'm good at this, when in reality, we've just been lucky.
So he thought he could just climb out like he had before.
Probably. But the ice kept breaking under his weight, and the water was freezing. When you fall into water that cold, you lose dexterity almost immediately. You lose the ability to grip.
He was trapped.
He was trapped. Divers eventually got him out, and he was flown to a hospital, but he'd been in the freezing water too long. He didn't make it.
It really reinforces that idea that nature doesn't care about your subscriber count. The ice doesn't know you are a beloved internet figure.
Precisely. The narrative in your head is a comedy, but the reality is physics. And physics always wins.
Okay, let's shift gears. We are leaving the water and moving to a man-made environment that is just as deadly. The rails.
Trains. Large, loud, predictable paths, and yet they claim lives constantly. It is an industrial environment, not a studio.
Our first story here is James Stob, known as Stob the Hobo.
Stob is such an interesting figure. He wasn't your typical polished vlogger. He was train hopper. He traveled the country illegally riding freight trains.
He had this cult following, he played the piano, he had this incredible deadpan humor, and he was just looking for pizza and a cold beer.
It was very raw.
Yeah, it was this hobo lifestyle that people found really romantic. His videos were slow, almost meditative.
But we have to remember, train hopping is incredibly illegal and incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
You are dealing with moving, heavy machinery.
Stob died on November 8, 2017, in a train accident in Baltimore. But unlike the others we've discussed, there's a lot of mystery here because the camera didn't catch the moment.
Right, there wasn't a huge media circus.
Yeah.
The leading theory suggests that his gear was his undoing. Train hoppers carry heavy packs. It's believed his backpack got snagged by a passing Amtrak train while he was on a bridge.
Just dragged him.
That is the consensus. It highlights that his studio, so to speak, was an active industrial kill zone. He died doing what he loved, riding the rails, but it shows that the lifestyle he glamorized has terminal consequences.
Now, contrast Stob, who was this gritty underground figure, with our next case. This one is the polar opposite, Greg Plitt.
Oh, this is a massive shift. Greg Plitt was the epitome of physical perfection and discipline. West Point graduate, Army Ranger, jumped out of 1,000 planes. He was a high-profile fitness model.
His whole brand was about extreme discipline. Grab life by the horns. He inspired hundreds of thousands of people. But in 2015, in Burbank, California, he was hit by a Metrolink commuter train.
And this one is baffling to many people because of his background. How does an Army Ranger, someone with elite situational awareness, get hit by a train?
Well, let's look at the setup. He was filming a commercial or a workout video for his website. The goal was to get an amazing shot.
There are conflicting reports on exactly what the shot was supposed to be. Some say he was trying to outrun the train, like a Superman moment. Others suggest he might have thought the train was on a parallel track. But the why matters less than the how.
There is a witness account from a man named James A. Brown. He saw security footage of the incident. He said Greg had a camcorder in his hand. He saw him running, and then he saw him stumble.
That stumble is key. It brings us back to this distraction. If you are focused on the camera, on framing the shot, on looking cool, your situational awareness drops, even if you are an Army Ranger.
Brown said, I saw him stumble over the tracks as the train was going by, and then that was it.
It's tragic. The cognitive load of getting the shot overrode his survival instincts. He was treating the train like a prop in a movie scene, but in reality, a commuter train is a relentless force. A miscalculation of a few seconds is fatal.
It's that drive for the perfect shot overriding the survival instinct.
Which brings us to our final category. We've done water, we've done rails, now we go to the heights.
This segment is heavy. We are talking about the channel High on Life.
Ryker Gamble, Alexi Lyakh, and Megan Scraper. They were a huge travel channel, over 600,000 subscribers. Their motto was literally, if you can, you should.
They were young, beautiful, traveling the world, cliff jumping in paradise. They were living the dream. On July 3, 2018, they were at Shannon Falls in Canada.
Now, what makes this story different from the others is the sequence of events. This wasn't a stunt gone wrong in the traditional sense. It started as an accident and turned into a heroic, tragic attempt at rescue.
Right. There at the top of the falls, Megan Scraper, who was Alexi's partner, slipped. She fell into this fast-moving water that feeds into a pool about 100 feet below.
And without hesitating, Ryker and Alexi went in to save her.
They didn't think about the camera.
At that moment, the content creator label fell away. They were just humans trying to save their friend. But the current at Shannon Falls is incredibly powerful.
So they went in.
And they were all swept over the edge. All three of them fell 100 feet.
That is heartbreaking. It shows the loyalty of the group, but also the inherent danger of these beautiful locations.
That is a key point. We see these locations on Instagram, waterfalls, canyons, cliffs, and they look like playgrounds. They look consumable. We forget that they are wild, hostile environments. The screen tames them.
Finally, we have one more story in the Heights. Albert Dyrlund.
Albert was a Danish star, actor, comedian, musician. He starred in a movie called Team Albert about, ironically, a high schooler wanting to be YouTube famous.
On July 28, 2021, he was hiking Mount Sasita in the Italian Alps, the Dolomites.
If you have never seen the Dolomites, they are incredibly dramatic. Sharp cliffs, limestone walls, sudden drop-offs. They are aggressive mountains.
Albert had just posted an Instagram story showing off the scenery. He was sharing the beauty with his followers.
And minutes later, while recording a video for his channel, he stumbled.
He fell 600 feet.
600 feet. It's hard to wrap your head around that.
And again, it's that transition. 1 second, you are holding a phone, looking at a screen, framing a shot of a beautiful mountain. The next second, you are gone.
There's a psychological effect here called the flattening effect. When you look at a landscape through a phone screen, you lose depth perception, you lose the proprioception, the body awareness of where the edge actually is.
So his brain was framing a 2D video, but his body was stepping off a 3D cliff.
Exactly. The screen flattens the world, it flattens the danger. Albert was a source of joy for 170,000 subscribers, and he was lost because of a single misstep while trying to entertain them.
So bringing this all together, when we look at Jacob, Tor, Stob, Greg, the High on Life crew, and Albert, what is the synthesis here? These are very different people in very different places.
The common thread is the priority shift. In every single one of these cases, the desire to entertain, to inspire, or to get the shot temporarily overrode the biological survival instinct.
And that camera shield you mentioned.
Yes, the camera acts as a barrier. It makes you feel like an observer of reality rather than a participant in it. When Jacob Cockle was in that whirlpool, he wasn't just a man in water. He was a director filming a scene. When Greg Plitt was on the tracks, he was filming a commercial. The context of filming makes the danger feel simulated, but the train, the water, and gravity, they're always real.
It's a heavy legacy. These videos, they are still up. Millions of people still watch them.
And that is the strange digital immortality we have created. You can go to Apetor's channel right now and see him drinking vodka and laughing. He looks alive. He looks happy. You can see High on Life's travel vlogs. These creators are frozen in time.
They are forever young, forever adventurous.
Exactly. But we have to remember the cost. The cost of that digital immortality was their actual mortality.
So for everyone listening, enjoy the content. Be inspired by the adventures, but respect the reality behind the screen. No shot, no like, no subscribe is worth the ultimate price.
And if I could leave you with one final thought to chew on, consider this. We often say that the internet makes us connected. But in these cases, the connection to the digital world, the audience, the upload schedule, actually severed the connection to the physical world. It's a paradox that I think we will be wrestling with for a long time.
Stay safe out there, everyone, and stay curious. We'll see you on the next deep dive.